Tile up. Yo, buddy.
What happened last night? What happened between Bitcoin season and then 24 hours later alt season? Like, what happened?
We had the altcoins start to break daily trends, and it's actually quite interesting. We have the major alts starting to break trend. Now, isn't that quite coincidence that we had a Bitcoin breakout a few days ago, and now we're getting a major alt breakout. We have a Ethereum breakout, and we have a few others as well. So it's showing market cycle, buddy, and it's what we need to get the whole total market cap to start moving up again. And we can see that.
I'm looking at the altcoin portfolio. So you've got
ThorChain, brother. How is that?
ThorChain is one that you called on CoinPanel like 3 days ago at $3.60 or something, $3.50.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
So you would almost be double. Anchor Protocol is now at $4. Fantom is just had a breakout and it just broke trend. Miles showed me that it just broke trend a few minutes ago. So it looks like the action is actually happening on the alts. It looks like all the action is actually happening on the alts. And I think what we should do this show is decide whether it's safe to invest in alts, because there is a thesis that maybe it's not that safe to invest in alts. There is a thesis that it may not be that safe to invest in alts. So I say, let's talk about alts. Let's talk about what we should, whether it's safe to be investing in alts, and then look at the risks. Let's look at the actual risks of investing in alts and maybe getting caught out by the cycle. What do you say, buddy?
I love it. And let's see what the charts have to say, and let's see what the fundamentals are saying. Are you the new in the game host, by the way?
Do you like the studio? I think the studio is pretty cool. I mean, this is the new in-the-game studio. What do you guys think? Let me know. What do you guys think? This is actually a Hassel studio. It goes with this music, so it's like quite cool, I think. I don't know. Quite cool, no?
I love it, dude. And I see there on the back of you there that crypto is winning 6-0 to fiat. So that's quite cool.
Let me show you. There we go, 6-0. I think it's pretty cool. All right, let's do this. All right, welcome back, Degens, and it's nice to welcome the Degens back, right? So it's like, we've had a whole period of time where we haven't had Degens. So welcome back, Degens. If you're a new Degen, but you got to really be a Degen. You can't be a Degen that is a Degen today, and then when the market goes down, then you become salty on Twitter and Reddit, and you say, "Oh, but Ryan told me to buy Saber, and I'm down. Oh, I'm down. I don't know what to do. I'm down. I bought too much. I didn't listen to Ryan. Instead of putting 15% of my portfolio into small cap alts, I put 95% in." You can't do that. You got to come here and you got to actually put on big boy pants and invest, because
it's time
now
to learn from the past, and it's time to move forward.
You
have
see,
to get over it.
You see, and I've been very quiet. I've been very, very, very quiet about my coin stats portfolio. That Kucoin portfolio. I've been very quiet about it. The reason why I was so quiet about it, I don't want to shock you guys, but remember, I invested $37,000, right? I invested, and then the $37,000. Bro, it went down to $22,000. But I didn't do anything. And it was only down for like 2 days. And now it's back up. It's back at, I'm going to show it to you in a second. It's back up at $37,000. You see? So it just shows if you're holding the right stuff, you just sit back, you do nothing. It's at $36,000, $35,600. I do nothing. I just chill, and it'll come up. Mm-hmm. That's it.
How it works, brother. That's how it works.
That's how it works. All righty, Sheldon, let's do charts, and then let's talk about the good case scenario and the bad case scenario.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let's jump into it. Let's have a look on obviously what's happening. So guys, great. We had obviously the big candle from Bitcoin, but good response yesterday from the second candle. I like that it took us from the 43,000. We actually went to go test very similar to the $45,000 zone. Now, remember, this is our big sort of bear wall that we've been talking about. We know that this is where the bears have been trying to hold sort of a lot of control. And that's why we were sort of waiting for the last few days that the alts were sort of lagging behind it, right? chart, and it was just waiting for Bitcoin to get to a key level where the market now knows it's safe to start diversifying back into the market. So what we're looking at is we are back in the bear wall. I'm looking at the previous high, which is around the 45,500 breakout that I want to see from Bitcoin. Remember, the next wall between that is the region between 54 to the $58,000 region is the next. So we know there's a very big gap, and that's what usually happens. They sit with these big walls, and you want to sort of see where these major candles come out of nowhere. Like here was a big wall. As soon as we break through a big wall, we start to get a lot more progress and we start to get volume to back. So we are just back at the bear wall now. And what we was basically waiting for was Bitcoin to get back to this level. And we actually want people to get comfortable with Bitcoin back at this level, because when that starts to happen, then we start looking and we're like, oh, now all of a sudden we're starting to get the altcoins now starting to break long-term downtrends. We have Ethereum now starting to break the long-term downtrend. We then have the Ethereum to BTC, which has just, there we go, which has just bounced beautifully off of support. And what I love about this too as well is if you jump to the weekly chart, I see we're just loading a bit here, there we go, is you can see how oversold the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart is as well. So it was showing that Bitcoin was in control for a while. Now we're starting to get the crossover from a very oversold RSI on the weekly. Now, the last time here, remember, ETH did outperform Bitcoin by 50 to 60% in a matter of 3 months. Now, what is nice about that is Ethereum still held trend to Bitcoin when we got to this level over here. And we managed to get the full RSI to reset and make its way down to the bottom side, which is a good thing. Now we're starting to get the cross. So now we're in our heads, okay, we had the Bitcoin breakouts. Now what's going to start bringing the comps back into the alt? And what are we looking at next is we need to look at ETH. And we need to see, is ETH now starting to get some sort of momentum? Now I see the RSI is resetting on ETH. We're getting a cross and we're getting a daily breakout on ETH as well. And what I like about it as well is we've just crossed as well on the RSI, and we're starting to break out of the oversold position. We are starting to break trend. And what I am looking at with ETH now is very much how we're looking for Bitcoin to go test the 618, which is around the $54,000 region. The same with ETH. A break from here is showing me really strong strength of testing these resistance levels up here, which is showing my next sort of hold levels for ETH. So I'm looking at now, these are possibly great investment entries, but for now I'm looking to ride these bad boys up to the region of 3.6 to the $4,000 region, and then we will see how Bitcoin reacts at the 50k zone, if we start to break through. Now remember, we need the break of 45,500 to confirm that these are all great entries to get in. Otherwise there's always the little position of a possibility of Bitcoin coming and testing this little trend here. So if I jump in here to the 12-hour, I'll show you guys that Bitcoin broke through this long trend. You see, as soon as we break, we got volume coming in, and we are at a little bit of an oversold position on the small time frame. So saying at any point, possibly Bitcoin come down, test 41,500, 42. So that's always an option. That's what I spoke about yesterday, that's where I want to be capturing on alts, because they're all starting to break, especially major alts, they're breaking trend, or the break of the 45k region will then be my add-on. So we got Bitcoin, we then have ETH, and where we're looking at. Now, a few of the alts that I want to start going through, tell me your quick views before I jump into the rest of the alts, Ran, of what's your possibilities of pros and cons on, what I mean? You were saying fundamentally, what would stop you from buying altcoins right now?
Okay,
because the charts are telling us buy.
I think buy. I am buying. But I think when you buy, you've got to be prepared for both scenarios, right? You've got to look at both scenarios. The scenario one is that we're getting a Bitcoin recovery, and that Bitcoin recovery is going to take us into an altcoin recovery. It says the stream is lagging. Sheldon, I think maybe if you could log off StreamYard and then log back on and see what happens, because I think your stream's lagging. Is mine also lagging?
Yes, it is lagging, brother. We had a bit of an issue today with the internet. I'm not sure why. Even Miles' show was lagging too. Must I log off?
Log off and log on, and I'll try log off and log on. We'll both try, but let's have one of us here at the same time. So for me right now, you got to look at the bull case and you got to look at the bear case. If you're going to be buying altcoins. Now I think it's the bull case, but you got to remember what's going on here so that you can understand the bear case. So the buying right now is actually happening. We know for a fact that the buying right now of Bitcoin is happening because Russian oligarchs or people in Russia, maybe it's not all oligarchs, but anyone that has money in Russia and is starting to put money into Bitcoin, and putting their money, trying to get their money out the system before the sanctions, before the banks run out of money, before all banks get completely sanctioned. So, okay, they're saying I'm lagging too. Okay, let me try log off for a second. Let me try log off for a second and see if it does anything.
Okay, cool, brother. So I'm gonna carry on here, guys. So long. We apologize for the internet. We actually have the whole Banter fam here. I think we've had, literally 60% of a lot of the people are working around the world, and they're all here in one office. I think everyone's watching the show, everyone's streaming. I think is putting a lot of stress on the internet lines. So guys, as I was saying, very clear with Bitcoin, very good that we're starting to get the ETH, starting to join the race too. Let me know if you're better, brother.
I think it's better. Is it better? It looks better.
I think it's better. I think it's better.
Yeah. Okay. So Russian oligarchs are the ones buying. Russians are the ones buying. So which means that effectively this pump could be because of one buyer in the market. So if you think about it, if you think about what happened before this, you had a situation where there were no buyers in the market, which is why Bitcoin was going down to 35 and 36. There were no buyers in the market, and the buyers that were in the market, and Bitcoin started following the stock market. Now, what happens with Russia and Ukraine? Right now, what's happening with Russia and Ukraine? Stock markets are about, or have had a hit, and will continue to take hit. And the reason why they'll continue to take hit is because a lot of countries are actually exposed to Russia and Ukraine. So there are many countries that Ukrainian companies owe them money, that they get their supplies from Ukrainian companies, where Russian companies owe them money, where they get their oil and their gas from Russia. If you cut Russia off from the banking system in the world, effectively, you're going to deal a big blow you're going to deal a massive blow to European countries and trading partners. When that happens, the stock markets go down. Now, the stock markets will go down and Bitcoin will go up. Okay, so you're going to get this divergence between the stock market and Bitcoin. Now, if you get this divergence between the stock market and Bitcoin, then when the buyer dries up, in other words, when all the Russians have bought, then what happens? What happens when all the buyers have bought? Oh, well, the price of Bitcoin maybe comes down. So you got to be careful of that. You got to be super careful.
Does that mean they possibly selling? Are you saying that it would go down, or
no.
Okay?
Right now, there's only
other people selling into them then.
Well, it's the normal selling. Right now, there's only one. The reason why the market's going up is because there's a new buyer in town, and that new buyer in town is, for lack of a better word, call it the Russians. Just for lack of a better word, call it the Russians. When the Russian money has bought, and stock markets go down because they take their money out of the stock markets because they have to get out of shares, because you can't be in shares, and also when you get into a situation where companies, banks, financial institutions start to realize that Russian companies that are defaulting on their debt, that Russia is defaulting on its debt, they can't pay Russia, then you maybe start getting a little bit of a stock market correction. So you get the stock market correction, and if you get a stock market correction, and and Bitcoin goes up because they're moving money into Bitcoin, when that money stops going into Bitcoin, you've got a high Bitcoin price but a very low stock market. So for me, all eyes are on the stock markets and the correlation between Bitcoin and stock markets. If the stock markets don't crash, we're good. If the stock markets crash but Bitcoin goes up, then be careful of alts.
I agree. And I sort of like that the chart's sort of showing the break of 45 takes us to 54 area, and that is when we can ask that question. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Exactly. That's when we can start to ask that, and we can see if things are matching up or if they're not. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go through a few alts that are really starting to. I've been very patient for these. I will now. I've been very patient for these long day trends to the downward side, and these are the ones that I want to be catching because they've always worked super well in the past as well. So before I jump on that, one thing that is nice for me is we are starting to get a very big engulfing red candle, red candle on the dominance. So to say that obviously dominance has been rallying up with Bitcoin for a while. So this is our indicator that we want now to start reversing. We do have it quite overbought, especially on the daily. It's getting to overbought territory as well. But we do want to now flush back into the altcoins. And what's nice is we are right on the verge as well of my big money line that I've been talking about. And this one hasn't lied before. The last time we had the break over here, this is where Bitcoin we literally had, so this was quite interesting, man, was we literally, when we broke this line, we had Bitcoin rally from 38K to 69K in the last cycle. Then only 8 days later did we then have the altcoins join the race. And then the altcoins gained a total of 112% in the total two in the next 3 months above that. That's obviously the total in the point. So you can see very clearly it comes a few days later and it's sort of matching the same thing. And the last thing I want to show before I jump into the alts is the total two breaking trend right now. Long daily trend, and I have a nice 12 to 14% as our first test, and I got a nice 22 to 37 test as well for the next. So great indication of just going on, which now means my blinkers are on to start looking at what's cheap. Now you want to go through Fantom. Let me get yours done, and I can jump through these. So Fantom's ripping right now. It is starting to push really, really strong, and it just shows you how powerful it is to catch these little down wedges and the breakouts of those. And what I am seeing is, you know, Fantom to rally in the region to 2.4 in that sort of zone. I would only buy it if it comes back to 1.8 to the 1.9 zone. We've been speaking about it. We spoke about it 2 days ago to be getting into Fantom. You should be in some good profits now. And I'm sort of waiting for this daily stock. I know the drill now. You should all know the drill now. We'll wait for this for oversold. So I think Fantom's showing great strength. I think it's going to rock well. Volume is starting to come in. Is there anything fundamentally that's interesting with Fantom right now? Or
I just saw a chart breakout, which I thought was very good.
Okay, great. So let's go through the juicy ones and the ones that I'm entering right now. We've spoken about a lot of time, and it's been patience with this, but Render's broken day trend. It's closing above right now. It's a big interest buy zone for me as well. We do have the weekly. This is what's super interesting for me as well, is look at this weekly oversold RSI, guys. You know, the last time we were here, like, it's crazy the levels that we're at. This is a long downward sort of trend. It's breaking day trend now. We are crossing in the oversold position on the weekly. So red for me is super juicy. I'm looking for it to rally to our next major resistances, which the next one is around 4.5, and I then have one at $6. So I'm taking entries over here. It can be investments. It can be short, medium term as well. When we get to that 50K region or when we get to the important stage, we'll make that decision. But for me, I'm seeing 50, 70, 80% strong gain from Render, and it went, especially when that weekly crosses to the upward side and the daily has broken trend. It's looking super juicy for me. The one I spoke about yesterday, and we just wanted to confirm on it, is Axie as well. So I'm starting to load up a little bit of a gaming portfolio as well. Axie usually likes to lead the race as well. So we are breaking now out of the zone over here. Look at the weekly stochastic RSI. Look how long this is dragged in the oversold position. We have just crossed. The last time that we had this, you know, we were looking at an $8 Axie, and you can see how long we had the strong pullback over here. We are crossing now, and we are looking at breaking day trend. So this is one that I'm adding now as well, as I said, short-term and investment-wise, but definitely for my gaming side. We then have Curve. Now, Curve is breaking a beautiful trend right now. For me, I've been loading up this morning, and I want to be loading up later on today. I won't be adding any more above 2.72, but this is a zone I'm super interested in. This is where I'm stocking up, and I'm looking at here as the next resistance is sitting around 3.5 to the $4.3 region. The weekly as well, very oversold. I think it's a great protocol, and it's starting to give me really good signals on where we're at. You then spoke to me about Looks this morning. Can you give me a quick intro on why Looks as well, and then I'll go through the chart quickly.
So Looks is the OpenSea competitor. If you want to call it that, it's the tokenized OpenSea competitor. If you look at the chart of Looks, and remember, Looks was an airdrop to most to OpenSea holders. And if you look at the chart,
this is why the guys were
dumping the airdrop tokens. There was a little bit of controversy, but now what you can see is that it looks like the controversy is finished and the selling's finished. And then it's just broken through the little trend line. That's why I thought this is a good time to buy Looks. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me very much of sushi after the sushi collapsed like 60 cents at one point. And then bang, it went back up.
Exactly. So yeah, so it's very clear on the chart that they were selling off the free tokens, but then we started to consolidate, and now we're starting to break trend, and we got the weekly now that's crossing to the upward side. So I'm adding through. I think it looks great chart wise, and what's nice about this is next resistance is 90% away. This was a big pull off, guys. So that means the gains will be big on the other side. So I'm looking at the 90%. I'm looking at the 150% as well. where we're looking with looks. We then have Solana. Now, Solana's starting to break well. It's just popping its head for my last little bit of entries of where I enter here. I won't really be buying much more above $106, $107. But anywhere in these zones, I'm stocking up quite a bit. We're getting volume spike again, and we have nice resistances. The next ones are sitting at around 140, and the ones after that around 170 as well. So Solana's showing strength. And why I'm really interested in Solana right now is because we are finally starting to break the long, look at this long downwards trend on the daily. This was a long trend to Bitcoin. Now, if we've been looking at that, I want to find the coins that if dominance right now is still in control of Bitcoin, I want to look at the ones that are showing strength against Bitcoin. And Solana's just engulfed all of this. This is very clear accumulation sideways phase. This is an industry. This is where they're loading up on all the dips. And now we are starting to break trend. I love how we start to get volume when we start to break trend. And this is really looking good for me. So I think we're catching it very early with Solana, with making USDT as well as making Bitcoin itself. And I am looking at the next major resistances, which are in the region of 35 to 40% away over Bitcoin. So that's why I'm really interested in Solana right now. We then have.
Can we look at one other thing? What did I tell you to buy the other day at 60 cents, 65 cents?
It's not. Wasn't it? Remind me.
Astroport.
Astro. Yeah. So I'll get Astro up here. Where's it at now? We spoke about Astro a lot.
$1.30. $1.30. It's up about 100%. Why I'm specifically asking about it is, I've got a feeling when I look at my CoinGecko right now, when I look at my portfolio on the CoinGecko, guys, we told you to buy Astro at 60 cents. So you should have
4 days in a row.
Yeah, well, I want to just show you something. So if you look here, you see Kujira is up 110% in the last 7 days. Astroport is up 76.8% in the last 7 days. Luna is also up so I'm thinking there may be a Luna alt season, which is here. I think a Luna alt season may finally be here. So I think we should maybe start looking at some Luna specific alts. Because I
definitely want to create a Luna watch list so we can go through that. I think that's a great show for tomorrow or for Friday as well. So definitely, I got Miles jumping on tomorrow as well. We're going to go through a nice DeFi system as well, and a nice DeFi watch list for everyone as well. So I think it's important. Right? I think it's time for us to start covering all the different ecosystems and to work nice strategies with them. So Astro, definitely not buy territory, but volume is pumping in here, and this is really rallying up. So it usually makes its way to the region of probably 1.9 in that zone over there. Will there be a cup and handle later? We shall see. But I think the guys, you see, it's another lesson for everyone to sort of be is when you find a token that has come off a big drop off and it's gone through this accumulating phase, and then you start to see an increase of volume. It's always a good phase for you to be loading up, and you can see how you start to reap the rewards at a later stage. So that's looking good. I'm not sure what happened too much on Nera protocol, but that absolutely rocketed. Hold strong, guys. We've been getting a lot of good entries on that. RUNE, what a monster, did really well. And I am looking, what's quite shocking with RUNE is we did hit a short-term resistance over here. That's why I'm expecting, short-term frame sort of pullback, get the RSIs reset. But the next targets are back at $8, $9. So these entries that we loaded up here, they look really good, and we can be holding them for a long while. I think that's more or less that for now. I got tons more, but I want to get through it again tomorrow and go through those. I do have Trader Joe that's breaking. I do have Mirror Protocol that's breaking too. And I have Moonriver that's also starting to show good strength as well again. So Moonriver is very close that if Bitcoin breaks that 45K zone, finally it's gotten close to the trend line. And this daily breakout here can really be a good entry for us, as well as Trader Joe. Now, Trader Joe is already broken out of this wedge. We're on the test right now. Chart-wise, it's always a beautiful zone to be loading up. And then Mirror Protocol, I'm not sure how you feel too much about it, but this was a long downtrend.
Synthetic assets.
High risk. Yeah, very high risk.
Synthetic assets. I agree. But I must say, what it is showing me is that there is a Luna alt season here. Mars protocol is launched now this week. Levana protocol is coming out. I think there's a Luna alt season coming, and you got to be positioned for it. I want to just quickly go back to this. So for those people that were following this portfolio, we're still super confident. As you can see, the tokens that recovered, I mean, the whole market recovered, but the ones that recovered the most, a lot of the tokens in this portfolio. I want to add looks to this portfolio. So we will add on the design. I want to add looks to this portfolio because I think it's missing a vanilla NFT play. So I think this is the one. And I think I said last week, I think it was Thursday, but I said, it would be a good time to be deploying money into this portfolio. If you haven't, then maybe start dollar cost averaging. I wouldn't buy the green. I think the green is quite killer, but I want to add looks to this portfolio. So we'll add it on today if we can. But yeah, I mean, if you look at these, so Moonriver hasn't moved yet. I think Moonbeam, just check Moonbeam, GLMR, just see what Moonbeam looks like.
GLMR.
Yeah, I think that's Moonbeam. Yeah, there we go. Now, if that's under 250, I haven't looked at it today, but if it's under
255,
safe to buy.
This looks so much similar to the Looks chart. Was there an airdrop or something where the guys were just like
just safe to buy.
It's very
safe to buy. And then then let's just quickly look at and see if there are other ones that we could buy. The other one that I think hasn't moved yet. Let me just have a look here. Hold on, Degen-ish. Here we go. Moonriver hasn't moved yet. UXP hasn't moved yet.
Super hasn't moved yet.
They will move.
Joe's just broken up now.
BBS. If BBS is under 15, 16 cents. I mean, I doubt that it is, but let's see if it is. And I mean, full disclosure, we're invested in BBS. We're buying more now. It's 13.37 cents. Like, this is the riskier part of your portfolio, but it's a fully diluted valuation of $130 million. That's fully diluted valuation on BBS. I don't know. And I just think, okay, it's very risky, but I think it's part of the portfolio. So I think just stick to the strategy. Keep dollar cost averaging into that portfolio.
Yeah, and we should reap the rewards quite soon. So let's be patient. Tomorrow, I'm telling you guys, if we break this 45,500, we're gonna have a massive acceleration out of the market. So let's be aware for that. And any $42,000 tests, I'm loading up on all those. It means all those ones that broke daily trend will come and test the support, and I'm stocking up. Let's do it, brother.
Before we go, if you remember, we said we're going to start raising money for Ukraine, and what we said is what we're going to do is we're going to launch an NFT collection. The NFT collection is crowdsourced from our community, artists around the world. So we initially called it Fuck War, but then people said, you can't say fuck war because it's got the word fuck in it. And you're not allowed to say the word fuck on a YouTube stream because YouTube doesn't like it when you say the word fuck. So instead of saying the word fuck on a YouTube stream, what we decided to do was we decided to call it Art Against War because we just think that Art Against War is a better name than saying the word fuck war. So on a YouTube stream, because YouTube doesn't like the use of the word fuck. So effectively, instead of saying fuck war, we called it Art Against War. And what it is it's an NFT collection that is procured from artists all around the world, okay? So, just to give an idea of the type of artwork that people have sent. So this is all community-driven pieces. We didn't do it. There we go. So art, these are just images that the community has created, artists have created, digital artists have created. What we are doing is we are minting 5,000 pieces. Okay, so there's going to be 5,000 artwork pieces that are being minted. I think they're being minted at, 0.1, 0.3 ETH. I don't know the exact number. And all the proceeds, every single cent of the proceeds, not only every single cent of the proceeds, but this is where it gets quite clever. So all the proceeds of the mint, which is going to be $1.5 million, is going to go to the Ukrainian government. And then every time that the NFTs trade, a percentage of the trade will go to the Ukrainian government. The reason why we like that so much is because not only do they need money to fight the war, but they're going to need money for years and years and years to come to rebuild Ukraine. And by trading these NFTs, which is going to be the 5,000, what we used to call the Fuck War NFTs, but we changed the name from Fuck War to Art Against War because YouTube doesn't like it when you use the word fuck. So you're going to get any money from the resale of it, a percentage goes to rebuilding Ukraine. And so we think the mint is happening on Friday. You can donate. If you want to go, just join it. The Twitter handle is @AAW_NFT. Go join it. Go look at the website, which is artagainstwar.io. Sale starts in 2 days, 2 days and 11 hours. I'm going to reach out to Gary V to help us because I know he's passionate about NFTs. I'm going to reach out to my friend Gary. I'm sure he'll help us. And try and get your hands onto it. And I mean, help Ukraine. That's one way to help Ukraine. And you're not only helping them now, but you're actually helping them forever. And that's why we love it.
Amazing, brother. I'm definitely feeling the major alts. It looks like they all looking really strong. Fantom's ripping, Solana's ripping. So it looks like it's definitely major alts that are starting the run with Bitcoin.
The Degens are going to come back, bro. The Degens are going to
be back. And we're going to be back again. We've learned a lot of lessons through this road. And now we hit it again, brother. Let's do it.
All right, guys. See you later. See you in about 3 hours. I'm going to show you some altcoins that I think are worth buying and some altcoins that you've definitely got to stay away from in this pump. There is a narrative that's going to play out, and I'm going to show you why I think the narrative is going to play out pretty soon. And I think you should be positioned for that narrative. So we'll see you guys again at 9 a.m. EST, and we'll probably be 15 minutes late because we're always late. Until then,
we're never late. We're always 15.